All right, so you guys have all signed up to make a shift into a new way of being, a lifestyle change. And this is always, as we all know, easier said than done. So I want you guys to do a little exercise with me today. What it involves is just grabbing a piece of paper or your journal that you're using for the KūRating Kickstart and just open it up to a brand new page. And I want you to make 3 columns. And we're going to have 6 subheadings, but I'll go through them one by one. So the first one is your kitchen fixes. So I want you to identify what in your kitchen, about your kitchen, might make changing your lifestyle in the direction that you want, making this shift, what might make it more challenging for you. So an example might be making it easier to find and locate certain utensils. Maybe you find it really frustrating that your kitchen or certain drawers in your kitchen are really unorganized. And then, so you want to put that in column 1. So column 1 under kitchen fixes is that I need to fix the fact that, I can never find my utensils that I want for cooking, and it just frustrates me to no end. Column 2 is going to be your strategy, so how you are going to fix that. And then column 3 is how and when you are going to implement this fix. Okay, so column 1 is what's your problem? What is the issue that we have identified that needs a fix? Column 2 is the strategy by which you're going to fix this. And column 3 is how and when it will happen. So, for example, maybe you find portioning really challenging in terms of changing your diet. So one solution might be that you can buy smaller plates. So you, in column 1, will write, portioning is challenging for me. Your strategy in column number 2 is going to be using smaller plates. And column 3, you're going to go on Amazon tonight and you are going to purchase smaller plates. Or maybe you're not going to purchase smaller plates, but you're just going to move your big dinner plates that most of us have under, in another area of your kitchen, and you're not going to make use of those for the next little while to see if that helps you with your issue in portioning. So that is number 1. Another example for this kitchen subheading might be issues with finding recipes. I'm never sure what to cook. Well, number 1, you shouldn't have that issue anymore because I'm providing you guys all with a meal plan. But if you need more recipes, maybe your strategy is to obtain more recipes, and then how and when you're going to make it happen. You are going to email Dr. Scott tonight and ask her if she has a few more breakfast recipes, because I've tried the ones she's given me and they're not cutting it, I'm not loving it, and so it's really hard to stick to, okay? So that's number 1. Number 2 is going to be the bedroom fixes, and it's not maybe what you think. So in order to get a restful, restorative sleep, we need a number of things that we're going to be discussing in the program, but perhaps your bedroom is really cluttered, right? Maybe you need to make it quieter or darker. Maybe you need to purchase blackout blinds. Maybe you need to not be sleeping with the bed partner that you're currently sleeping with because he snores up a storm and it's not working for you, right? So these are all examples of things that need fixing, and then I want you to try to think of a creative strategy that you're going to put in place and how and when you're going to put that strategy in place for this second subheading. The third one is going to be trouble zones. So I want you to think about things and areas in your life, and it can be a time as well of day, like a time of day, that you find really challenging and it may cause you some heartache and to be disheartened in this process of lifestyle shift. So maybe you find it really difficult to eat a healthy breakfast in the morning because you're always rushing and you're late for work. We need to identify that, and then we need to find a strategy in order to deal with that issue, and then we need to talk about how and when you're going to make it happen. So that's just one example. Maybe it is dinner time that's specifically very challenging to you. Maybe it is in the late afternoon when you just completely crash. And you need a solution for that. So these are just things that I want you to work on identifying. And if you yourself cannot find a strategy and solution, then please post below and Jen and I will help you address these areas that need adjustment and support. The next one I want you to think about is where you need to plant healthy blood sugar supporting snacks. So most of us are in a situation where at some point during the day, we're not feeling optimal. So I want you to identify that time and I want you to write it down and I want you to decide specifically what snack you are going to prepare, and I want you to plant something there so that you're not reaching for, last week's Halloween candy. You're not reaching for a chocolate bar that you stashed somewhere or whatever your kind of vice candy is, and you're not taking your break and running up to McDonald's to buy an extra large fry. Okay? And then I want you to also look at things like if you travel for work, considering whether you need to put snacks in your carry-on, what that looks like or what that can look like nowadays. What are you allowed to take on board or not allowed to take on board? And then, think about things like the weekend. Maybe because you have a less structured weekend, you find it even more challenging because you're more on the go. So how can you make these snacks, these healthy snacks, available to you while you're on the go in a reasonable way that is not going to seem too challenging for you? The next subheading is going to be danger zones. So a lot of us have these areas in our lives that we walk into physically or mentally where we feel like we can't control what we're eating. This can be as a result of a physical environment, of a mental environment going on in our own head, or a person in our lives that kind of sabotages our goals. So I want you to identify in those three areas what's going on in your life, where do you need support, what strategy can you use to avoid it or shift this relationship into a healthier way of being, and then when and how are you going to implement that shift? Again, if you have questions or concerns or you're really stuck somewhere, please feel free to post below and we will give you feedback and support in those areas. And then I want you to think about temptation zones, things like dinner parties, going out for dinner with your family, or maybe it's lunch and learns or lunch at work, right? Where they provide you with food for lunch. This could also just be a route that you travel every day that takes you by a specific drive-through restaurant that you absolutely love to hate, and by that I just mean that you love it but you know it's not right for you, so maybe you can take another route, right? So what's really key about this exercise is that we need to identify it and name it in order to fix it. Okay? And then last but not least, I want you to consider your obstacles to exercising on a regular basis. And by exercise, I want to emphasize that I just mean getting active on a daily basis and living an active lifestyle, which is totally different than going to the gym every single day, because even Jen will tell you that you don't need to live that way in order to be healthy, but you do need to move your body daily. You need to sweat daily. So maybe it is the weather change and you're like, you know what, this is going to be fine for November. I can probably hack this, but when it gets to December, I just don't think it's realistic for me. We need to identify those thought patterns so that we can shift them over the course of the next 5 weeks. Maybe it is a lack of time. You know, you're like, I have so much going on in my life already. I have no idea how I'm going to find time for these workouts. This is something I want you to identify. I want you to name it. And then I want you to bring it up with Genevieve so that she can find a solution for you and she can work through that mindset piece with you in terms of your workouts. And then perhaps, like, for some people, it's just boredom, right? They're like, I'm doing the same exercise every single day and that's boring to me and I'm not going to stick to it. I guarantee you that between myself and Jen, we can give you a number of resources to access some high intensity interval training videos that are going to be basically limitless through the awesomeness that is Google and the internet. And you can literally do a different workout every day, probably for the rest of your life. So that's it. I know that is a lot of work on your end, but I do encourage you to work through this over the next couple of days because, like I said, if we don't name it, we can't tame it. So let's figure it out. Let's figure out what we need to address in the next 5 weeks so that long after you guys leave this KūRated Kickstart, you leave with a set of strategies that is sustainable and life-changing. So have a great day, guys. Again, if you need support, if you're stuck anywhere, please post in the comments below. Take care.